The first time I heard music, I was 5 years old. It was a Friday afternoon, and my dad was taking me to my violin lesson. I remember because every Friday after my lesson, we would go get ice cream. I remember that day because it was the first day that they had this new flavor called Galactic Grape, and my dad let me pick the music that we would listen to on the way to my lesson. And I picked an album called The Best of Simon and Garfunkel. And I remember sitting in the car and hearing these two guys just harmonize so beautifully. And I remember sitting there and thinking, wow, the human voice can do that. I remember so vividly, because it just sounded like they were singing about something that was so real and so true. And it made me feel less alone. I've always been a very emotional person. I've always felt things very deeply. And when I heard that album, it was the first time that I felt like someone else understood what I was going through. I started listening to more and more music, and I started writing down lyrics. And by the time I was 8, I had a notebook filled with lyrics from songs that I loved. And I would just read them over and over again, because they made me feel less alone. As I got older, I started listening to more and more sad music. And as I got into my teenage years, I started listening to music that was really angsty and sad. And it became my thing. Whenever I felt a certain way, I would always find a song that matched that emotion. Sophomore year of high school, I was going through a really tough time. My parents were getting divorced. I was struggling with my mental health. I was struggling with my identity. I was struggling with who I was and where I fit in. And I found an album called Rumor Has It by Adele. And I remember sitting in my room and listening to this album and thinking, oh, this woman is so talented. She's able to take all of these horrible, awful feelings and turn them into something so beautiful and so heartbreaking at the same time. And it just made me feel less alone. That's why I love music so much. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I want to be a music journalist. Because music has the ability to make people feel less alone. And if I can help make people feel less alone by talking about music, then that's the greatest thing that I could ever do.